Today I watched Bart Kay and Nutrition by Victoria's Trainwreck, the best that I can call it. And I decided I was going to, I started kind of binge watching Bart Kay, if I'm honest. And I have some agreement with what he says, and I have almost no agreement anymore with everything that everybody says. The more and more I read the Bible, the more I'm like, Jesus was asked one time, what shall we eat? And he said, don't concern yourself with what you eat. I don't know. I'm kind of there. But I wanted to make a video about a montage of what you can expect to kind of find if you are new to this world and you're coming into dieting. What can you expect to find?
Hey, fatty! Your diet sucks!
Kind of interesting things about associations not being causal.
Yep. Why did you find them interesting, Richard?
Yeah, you don't seem to understand like what an association is.
Let me stop you right there before you carry on. Richard, you're sitting...
Now, Vegan Gains, I think his name is Richard. I thought he was actually going to be going somewhere with this. I really did. I was like, oh, wow, he's handling this pretty well. Why is the gain so bad? He's handling this pretty well. Can we even hear me? And then this happens.
There with no more than a high school diploma telling me I don't understand statistical and scientific...
Oh, I've got more than a high school diploma. I benched 410 pounds.
How is that your response? Like, how is that your response? No one cares. No one cares.
How much can you bench?
No one cares at all. What are we, 13 again?
That's got nothing to do with knowledge.
How much
about
can you bench,
anything
bro?
whatsoever. I don't know, and I don't
care. Do you even lift?
I wouldn't bench anyway because benching is dangerous.
So I guess that lack of vitamin C is making you weak.
What lack of vitamin C? What the hell is he talking?
When I eat giant meals, even too much fruit. The other day, I had a mango meal, as many mangoes as I could fit in my face. And I went for a long...
I have to apologize before we really get into this. What in the hell is going on with this? Like, this is pissing me off. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm seeing the gain go like way off the side of the thing. I don't know if it's blown out. The quality, the video quality of this is crap. It's the best I could do. I don't know why the output on this thing is so terrible right now.
Long ass walk. Came back. My blood sugar, 5.6, which is that number. Perfect for diabetes freaks, but not for my perfect ideal body. My ascended fruitarian body would have had way lower sugar. So in my opinion, I think I just ate too many mangoes. They're too sweet and fun, and I can eat way too many, and it's just the amount of calories for what I needed that day. Say that was probably a 12.
We still have this idea that fruit was not sweet back in the day. Now, I urge anybody who thinks that to go grow seeds, heirloom seeds, like tomatoes, apples. Guarantee they're sugar bombs. I've done it. They are way more sugary than the stuff that we have now in the store. The reason we don't have heirloom stuff in the store is because the more sugar is in something, the less likely it is to ship well. So they make it more bitter now. And the more bitter something is, the harder it is and the easier it is to ship.
1,200 calorie meal. That's a lot. That's a lot of sugar. So like these people who tell you it's high carb, low fat, no matter what, as long as you have your fat low or zero, you'll absorb the sugar, you can eat unlimited sugar. I'm not seeing that in my body. I'm seeing if I eat too much, my sugar stays high. And yes, that number, our blood sugar, in my opinion, should be roughly 90.
How do we know that? Where's this number coming from? Drawing numbers at a dartboard? I mean, really.
All the time. Then you eat, it spikes, it should come back to 90 after 2 hours. That's the new normal. None of this 140 stuff. That's weird people with cheese, crumpets, muffins for dessert. So this whole life...
Cheese Whiz.
style.
Say something along the lines of the human body does not store carbohydrate as body fat.
Right.
Something along the lines of
I wonder if this guy's natural.
de novo lipogenesis is too taxing, the body doesn't do it. Have you heard this type of thing?
I have heard that. Yeah.
Okay, can you destroy it right now, or
Yes,
whatever
it's
you're going to do
fucking
with
nonsense. Complete, utter nonsense. There is
Here's the thing with Bart Kay, too. Like, this is the language he uses, and everybody's like, oh, he must know what he's talking about. He's swearing. Or he's irate about something. He must know. Or he's got books behind him, so he must know, unless it's a green screen. I don't know. He must know.
no science to support that claim whatsoever. Of course, your body can and does create lipids from excess glucose. It also creates glucose from lipids when it needs to do that. Protein can also be used to make either. You have the pathways, we have the technology, we have the capability. Our bodies have been doing this perfectly well according exactly to the great plan of positive and negative selection pressures for 4.5 million years.
I don't agree on the time thing. I also don't agree with evolution theory. I think it's the dumbest thing.
Marinara sauce. I mean, how could you ask for anything tastier than this?
Now here's the rest of your order.
Okay, maybe I did order a little too much. But you know, even if I ate all this, it's not going to do me any harm. If you're not a vegetarian, I'd like you to try eating like one for just one evening. I guarantee you're going to feel better.
This whole thing probably cost $3.99 back in the day. That would be $8,000 right now.
I'd like to thank Sizzler for their cooperation in this segment, and I'd like to thank all restaurants out there that serve healthy alternatives. Now, if you'll excuse me for a minute, I got to get down to some serious eating.
Where would that idea come from? That
Jews.
the body doesn't store carbs as fat? Because a lot of these same people are, we'll talk about this in a second, a lot of these are the same kind.
I mean, this is some serious shoulder build up. I mean, I feel like I'm not being seen straight on like this. You know, should I do this? Like, oh, here we are.
Kaiko parrots. So it's like, okay, well, if you are big on Kaiko, how would any excess you eat not get
For those of you who don't know what Kaiko is, it's calories in, calories out.
stored as fat? You know what I mean?
Okay, if you're
That's right.
Well, if you, dear listener, are the person who believes for 1 second that Kaiko, which we call psycho over here, or CICO, calories in, calories out, that whole idea, if you believe that for a second, you're in the wrong place. You need to go back to remedial class. This is for advanced people. Calories have nothing whatsoever to do with human metabolism.
100% agree. I gotta move this. I really don't like this angle. Oh, man. There we go. Here we are.
Not a damn thing. That's a whole discussion by itself. And luckily I've already covered it. It's on my channel. There's a whole
Many
playlist.
times.
All right, so this segment here, let's get out of here. So I wanted to come across, I can't, a long time ago, I talked about this guy, Hinhidity, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And he was in charge of basically the health of Denmark during World War I, when Germans were taking a lot of their livestock, even though the Germans were dying like crazy. And they found that, so Pritikin used to talk about this. Pritikin was a researcher, Nathan Pritikin, and he found this guy, Hinhidity. He found some of his research and a bunch of research of other people. And they thought during World War II that people were having a high death rate and a high heart attack rate, C-word rate, and a couple other things because of the war effect of a country. But it ended up not being true. It ended up being that it was the high meat consumption. And because there was a really high meat consumption, because everybody was thinking about how you have to eat mostly nitrogen back in the day, which is protein. Now, I don't want to read all this, but basically, as a research has also shown that a man can retain full vigor for a year or longer on a diet of potatoes and fat, or for half a year or more on barley and fat. He was very big on fat. which ironically, this is on McDougall's website, which I feel like kind of slaps McDougall's message in the face. Another research thing that McDougall always pointed out, and the one thing that I pointed out to him when we did the interview that we did, is the Kahn study. And then the Kahn study is another potato study, and they had 1,800 calories a day just coming from fat in that study. Just fat alone was 1,800 calories. That's a lot. That does not include the potatoes at all. Their baseline every day was 1,800 calories worth of fat before they even got started. So here's this article. You can look it up. Just look up this guy's name, Dr. Mikkel Hindhidi. And it basically turned Denmark into a 3 million people study because their livestock was getting sold so they could actually pay bills. So they didn't really have a lot of meat. The real ultra wealthy were still eating meat and stuff like that. So they weren't really part of this study. It was so our principal foods were bran bread, barley porridge, potatoes, greens, milk, and butter. Pork production was very low, hence the farmers ate all the pork they raised, and the people of the cities and towns got little or no pork. Beef was so costly that only the rich could afford to buy it in sufficient amounts. Now, this wasn't trying to be vegan. This wasn't trying to be plant-based. This was just trying to keep people alive during a war. And they found that a lot, like death rates plummeted, and a lot of the diseases that people were getting that was associated with the stress that comes along from war was actually the stress that came along from eating too much meat. That is this. Again, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing largely because I got the camera right in my face and I can't see the whole thing. But that is definitely part of it. Now let's get back to this. And here's another thing that I wanted to point out was the fat thing again. So I'm going to have to move this for a second. During World War II, well, that's wrong. Subsequent food shortages, Denmark initiated research on the nutritional value of potatoes, especially when combined with fat. Now, I'm going to keep pointing this out. Why does this look so good here? It looks crap there. This video, hopefully, is going to be worth watching because I know the quality of the video is not that great, like visually. But I do want to point that out. And I've pointed this out to somebody who's also going to be in this video who did something with Bart Kay the other day. I pointed this out that in every single potato study, and I didn't pull all of them up. I didn't pull any close to near any of them, all of them up. Every single one had some form of fat involved with it. Every single one. The Soviet ones, the Russian ones, the Irish ones, the Kahn study, which I think was Polish, and this Hindhidi with 3 million people in Denmark. I mean, this is a lot of people that have essentially been put on the potato study. If you look at the Irish for 400 years before the potato blight, I think it was 300 or 400 years, they were on a diet of potatoes and fat. When they could afford it, they would get heavy milk and herring mixed with milk. Again, this is not a vegan thing by any stretch. This is what it is. It really is what it is. So let's get to the video here. Here's another thing. So this is kind of contradictory though to what I'm just saying. So then we got Pritikin here, and this is what you can see with, if you really watch all of these people, it is insane. Everybody contradicts each other.
From electrocardiographic equipment, monitor their blood to see how much fat was in their blood, and then he fed them a glass of heavy cream. 4 to 5 hours after the glass of heavy cream, he registered 14 angina attacks, and yet they were just comfortable in his office, doing nothing special, just letting the fat get into the blood, make the cells sticking together, block the small vessels, and creating coronary insufficiency. The electrocardiographic results also demonstrated coronary insufficiency, whereas in the beginning there wasn't any. Now, Dr. Crow wanted to see if it was the amount of fluid that these people had or what it was, so a short time later he gave the same patients a drink that had no fat at all, but the same amount of fluid and the same amount of calories. 4 to 5 hours after the test, there wasn't a single angina attack, not a single abnormality in the electrocardiogram. We've established through the years that fat is an enemy if you have a circulatory problem. Other investigators like Dr. Meyer Friedman from Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco had invited 41 firemen to come to his clinic, and what he did was to give them a glass of heavy cream to drink. He was surprised to find when he looked in the small vessels around the eye that 4 to 5 hours after the drink, when the fat had come into the system and blocked small vessels, that he could count 25 blockages in the little area that he was observing with his microscope. About 9 hours after the fat had been taken in, the cream had been drunk, the blockages resolved and the fat left the blood. On another day, he took the same firemen and decided to give them polyunsaturated fat, safflower oil, because it was around this time the American Heart Association was saying, change your diet, but the only change you have to make is the kind of fat you use. Use polyunsaturated fats instead of saturated fats like butter and lard and margarine. Use corn oil, use safflower oil. So Dr. Friedman...
I should make a separate video on why that is. There was a huge thing, basically one of the biggest scandals, basically, since modern history.
Want to see what happens when you...
That's a far-reaching statement, but it had a lot of deleterious effects. Is that the word? On humans.
You give them safflower oil. He made a drink about the same amount of fluid, the same amount of fat as he did the butter fat, the cream drink, gave it to the fireman, and 4 to 5 hours after the drink was amazed to find that the amount of blockages were identical as with the butter fat. The fat made the cells stick together and blocked the small capillaries just as effectively as if it were cream. So it didn't make any difference whether it's saturated or polyunsaturated. The vessel blockage happened just as well. And at that time, Dr. Friedman had a warning in his article that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, in which he said, the recommendations should not substitute one fat for another, but should decrease all fats. That was in 1965. How long does it take the American Heart Association to read their own literature? Because just a short time ago, in the Bulletin of the New York Academy of Medicine, Dr. Friedman said, and I'll quote him, a meal rich either in animal or vegetable fat can lead to sludging of the blood and block capillaries for most of a 24-hour period where one fatty meal follows another. At this writing, he said, I know of no single phenomenon that has been so consistently neglected in the study of heart disease as this one. Later, we may rue this inexcusable oversight. Well, fortunately for you, we're not overlooking this phenomenon. You have the fact.
Your diet sucks! You know how I know your diet sucks? Because you're in Stall Center! You want to lose all the weight, you fat pig? Do you want to get ripped? You want to get shredded? Stall free zone! Dad bod free zone!
You've committed your life.
Okay. I have to interrupt this stuff sometimes because of copyright. This video that we're about to watch, this is the only place that I could find that this video existed. And then I found that Diary of a CEO, which is a total shill YouTube thing, it meets certain criteria, agendas that people are pushing these days. And they're pushing certain agendas on said YouTube channel, which I think is the only reason that this channel has grown. And apparently, Neil Barnard's video did not meet said criteria because it was taken down. So here we go.
Too. What good do you hope that it's doing for everyday people in their day-to-day lives?
Right now, unfortunately, people are not well. They're not well.
Are they not, Neil?
Where they want to be. By age 30 or so, people feel like their life is starting to slip away. They're getting weight they don't want to have. Their cholesterol is going up.
So,
on medication.
What is on his shirt? Why didn't does he film himself?
That they know they're never going to get off of. Economics has changed everything. If you look, say, at rural Japan, 1950s, the country had a diet that was not entirely plant-based, but it was a rice-based diet, lots of vegetables, but no ice cream. This was not the Velveeta culture.
Cheese whiz.
And some meat, but not really very.
So this girl, her grandfather is doing the C word right now, and he didn't want his shop shut down, so she decided to take it over. She's using his recipes, which are from the 1950s. How much meat is in these? And again, I'm so sorry. I have no idea why the codecs on this would not allow me to run it through the normal channels I run it through. So it looks like a video from 1901. I'm sorry. Does that look low fat or low meat? Now, again, if you look at Asian culture, you have to look at the caste system, essentially, and who could afford what. But either way, do we see the massive weight on this girl? Who eats this stuff guaranteed daily? Oh man, are they big. You can't combine those fats and the proteins and all that stuff. I mean, this is what you come out with. Now, this person is a little on the verge of, say, overweightness, but the rest of them, I could find thousands of these videos. For whatever reason, people are obsessed with them, so they make a ton of them. It is so hard to find overweight people in Japan. It's not even funny. So what's the difference? You cannot tell me that the difference is only diet. You cannot tell me that. What else didn't exist in 1950? Power lines going all over everything. 5G, 4G, 3G. If you look at the rolling out of every kind of different tower, it equates with a different disease. I probably should have brought that up in this video, but this video is long enough. And it's getting harder and harder to find that information. Again, workers. Now, I know we've seen these two, but he is wearing one of them crazy vests that they got in Japan with the fans in them. So it makes him look, puffed up, but it's just a puff, it's running an air conditioner, basically. Again. Here's a completely different video. Do you see them eating rice? No, they're not eating rice. Are they overweight? Are we seeing mass obesity here? Man, he's just, at least 300 pounds, right? So desu ne.
And then suddenly the Golden Arches arrived in Tokyo.
The Golden Arches.
Again, another Golden Arches used to use tallow and lard to fry their fries. Were people overweight back then? No. Then they start using peanut oil. What happens?
McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, the country westernized, breast cancer doubled.
Is there a surprise in that?
There's more to westernization than food. look at what we live in compared to 1950.
Diabetes went way up.
Is there any surprise in that?
Lines expanded. Life expectancy went from longest in the world. It's still better than
what, dude? Change your shirt, man.
Many other places, but it has declined and declined and declined, despite having more knowledge than ever before. The Westernization of the diet has been a killer worldwide. And you see it now in China. As economics are changing in China, there's more wealth, there's more cardiovascular disease. And you know who's on the wires outside of town looking down like buzzards? It's the pharmaceutical
wires outside of town. Exactly. What are those wires doing to us?
Industry. Because if you eat more pork and your cholesterol goes up, I can sell you more statins. That's the world we live in. That can change.
Why did that not hurt anybody back in the day? Why did eating, I mean, I can think of what people were eating back in the family functions that I used to go to. Nobody was fat. Most of my family made it to like 90, between 90 and 100.
All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about why and how keto diet is an
This dude straight up punches his microphone.
Epic fail. When it comes to
I don't know who he is.
Real peer-reviewed research, keto diet is an epic fail. In this day of social media, it makes you wonder if the cabbage soup diet and the grapefruit diet and all these other diets were around in the days of social media, how much following they would have gathered as well. So a lot of foolishness out there, but when it comes to real peer-reviewed research, keto diet is an epic fail. Now,
right now with 150,000 views so far on the stroke that I had 2 weeks ago. In fact, it is exactly 2 weeks ago today. It's noon today on a Tuesday. I had the stroke 2 weeks ago at 6 a.m. and actually it worked out very well. I got to the hospital quickly.
How does having a stroke ever work out well? Like, what?
They were able to give me a clot-busting drug. I had a
that statement just does not make sense. I'm
stroke
sorry.
Up in the right quadrant of my brain, and basically after taking that clot buster, everything kind of reversed within a few hours. I was in ICU for 2.5 days, in the hospital for 1 more day, but I am doing very well. In my opinion, it doesn't even feel like I ever had a stroke. But this video is not really about that per se. It is about my diet going forward, because I have to admit, I have been on a very high-fat diet for about the past 3 years. And this video is really about my decisions on my diet, the best eating plan for me going forward. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at my carnivore diet, wondering if it is dangerous that I've been on such a high-fat diet. Actually, I've been on the carnivore kind of off and on, but mostly on for about the past...
I'm like watching her and I'm wondering how much of you is real? Or, you know... not that it matters diet-wise, but I mean...
past 6 to 7, 8 months.
Sugar in the absence of fat and protein. Sugar fasting. Sugar fast for 100 days, you fat pig. You can lose 100 pounds in 100 days, you fat-ass pigs.
You don't even really call yourself a carnivore anymore. Like, you changed your Instagram name and everything. Do you want to speak to that briefly?
Yeah. So the backstory here is that I guess in 2018... I cut out all the plants from my diet and basically ate meat, organs, and fat for close to 2 years.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Mm-hmm. That was a long time ago, though. And that's when I got that stuff damn near for free. I worked at a food distribution company.
During that time, I wrote the Carnivore Code, got interested in this carnivore diet, got interested in the potential for...
It was like salmon and beef was basically my life.
Some plant foods to trigger autoimmunity in some people, which is kind of that's my framework, because I had pretty bad eczema for a long time in my life, and I had bad eczematous reactions throughout medical school, college, even residency, that spurred me to think about this idea, like, are all plants good for all people? Mm-hmm. And that was the beginning of these ideas around the carnivore diet. Now, the end of that story, or the next chapter of the story, was about 2 years into the carnivore diet. I started noticing persistence of unpleasant symptoms. So testosterone dropped to around...
Mine went down to 204.
On 500 total, sleep disturbances, palpitations, muscle cramps when I was surfing or climbing. And I started to...
Yes, the cramps was bad. Very bad. Like really bad.
Think, okay, maybe long-term ketosis is not great for me.
Man, I forgot about that. There was one time my back cramped so bad that I couldn't actually get off the ground for like 2 hours or something like that.
And I was definitely in ketosis at the time, monitoring blood ketones with a meter. Not deep ketosis, but definitely ketosis. And so,
what do you notice about me all the time? Always lean. Been doing YouTube since 2008, and we're always lean over here. Whether I'm 85 kilos or 59 kilos, same body fat, always lean. Why is that? Because I understand sugar is your friend, and fat and protein. If you want to increase your body fat, eat more fat. If you want to increase your body weight, eat more protein. But most people out there are looking to decrease body fat, decrease body weight. This is Krispy Kreme donuts. This is sugar. People say this is bad because, it's got sugar in it. But look how much fat and dairy hormones are in this. And your standard donut, fried in fat. The fat you eat is the fat you wear. Whether it's healthy fat or trans fat, whatever, if we're talking weight loss and fat gain, fat is fat. 9 calories per gram for the calorie.
I can't lie. I haven't had them in a long time, but those donuts looking pretty good. I'll make all the comments you need to.
Levels out there, okay? So the fat you don't eat is the fat you...
I actually, when I initially saw this, I was hoping he was going to say that Krispy Kreme came out with like a low-fat donut.
Don't wear. Now,
he screwed me over.
Sugar? How much fat's in sugar? 0. 0 grams of fat.
I hear a lot of in the community today is this phrase, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And of course, when it comes to the consumption of refined oils, I think there's some merit to that idea. But I hear a lot of people advocating against the consumption of whole foods like nuts, seeds, avocados, and coconuts. What do you think about that and this notion of the fat you eat is the fat you wear?
First of all, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. That's a very superficial comment to make. It doesn't work that way biochemically. We should not be making that statement, first off. Secondly, the fat we talk about that may be problematic is the added oil isolated from the whole food. The food itself, like nuts and seeds and so forth and so on, they're kind of rich in, there's a reason for nature putting that in there. It enables them to get a kickstart, when they start growing new plants, as an aside. But to say that the whole food is the problem also is not correct. A lot of evidence, very convincing evidence, that nuts, if anything, have a benefit. They're rich in vitamin E, for example. That I've known that in the trade for decades. A lot of us in the business have known that. And to eat nuts, of course, is higher in fat for a specific reason. We don't want to just make up a whole meal just of nuts and seeds.
Okay, and then when you get lean as hell, you're skinny as a rail, you add lean meat back in. It's so simple.
Imagine that. All right, so are we getting it now? Are we getting it yet? Like, I'm not even done with this video, and everybody contradicts each other. Everybody.
You've been intermittent fasting, but you haven't been paying attention to research that's come out that's suggested that maybe you would get more benefit if you do things a little bit different. The good news is almost everything that's come out has actually made fasting easier. So this is going to serve as somewhat of a complete guide for how to do intermittent fasting for fat loss, but also for building muscle and how to sort of time things. But again, the good news is everything has gotten easier. But the big name of the game now is how do we toggle between what is called sympathetic and parasympathetic states. What we've learned.
Intermittent fasting, IF, and it finds that it may nearly double the risk of dying from a heart issue. So remember, this is a kind of diet where you only eat like at certain times a day or within a certain time window. This study examined its impact on 20,000 Americans, the whole thing, raising some red flags about what's become a pretty popular way for some folks to try to lose weight. Now, the authors of this study say that fasting for 16 hours or more every day, in their words, significantly increased the risk of some kind of a heart disease-related death. I want to bring in...
the glucose goddess.
Here's this shill again. There's two shills on this one, as it were.
We spoke 2 years ago, and in that time, I feel like there's been a a real glucose
Again, he fills a certain agenda.
Revolution, much of which has been led
And
by
so
you.
does
Your
she,
books have sold
actually, because you can't know what you're talking about unless you've got an accent, it seems.
millions and millions and millions of copies around the world. Your conversations online have millions and millions and millions and millions of views, more than I could possibly
know what glucose is. So it's like, you know, when you put the frog in the water and then you slowly boil the water, you know that image, and the frog doesn't notice the water is boiling? That's how I feel, because I've been doing this for 5 years now.
Oh, shit. Wow. 5 years. Must be a complete expert.
So I can tell now, if I compare today to 5
She's pushing propaganda for 5 years now.
years ago, there's been a
It's like, I'm going to let her actually speak here, but when you listen to her, you can tell that she's reading off a script given to her, or at least a script, while she talks.
huge shift. But I've been looking at it every single day, day by day, and the increase has been very gradual.
How do you define yourself? There's this sort of name you go under, the glucose goddess, but professionally, if someone says, what do you do? How do you define that?
I say I'm a biochemist. I'm a biochemist, passionate about sharing science in a fun, accessible, sexy way. That's what I
Science is satanic. We all know it.
like to do.
Crazy energy, you fat pigs. Go straight fruit and juice.
These CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, that everybody seems to be wearing these days, they're much of the reason people, I guess, know you, because you post these incredible graphs on your Instagram showing the impact of the things we on our glucose levels.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I would never wear a continuous blood glucose monitor. I'm sorry if you're wearing one right now, you might live. It's Bluetooth radiation beaming to your smartphone along a meridian that is clearly affected. My fiance is...
I really doubt the people who made this stuff knew this. They didn't know this.
An acupuncturist. She knows all about these meridians, and she sees these Apple iWatch Fitbit bitches who just having that technology right there on this meridian affects, I forget what it is, if it's the stomach line or the kidney chi, whatever it is, but she always sees problems with people having that.
Start there. When I eat something sweet and full of sugar, there's a spike in...
This is like, if you're in a courtroom, this is leading here. It's just disgusting to watch. And I'm not really even on anyone's side anymore. I have completely washed my hands of everybody. You know, we could all be friends, but like this whole, I'm more in the Jesus camp. Don't concern yourself with what you eat. You got better things to do in life.
In my CGM, so my continuous glucose monitor, does the spike mean that something bad is going on in my body?
Kind of.
Oh,
yeah. So,
man. You ate sugar and then your insulin worked. Oh, what are you going to do? It's amazing how according to the evolutionist in the beginning of this, we've made it 4 or 5 million years with this function working and keeping us alive. And now, well, we just can't have that. It's a danger to us.
I'll go just one step back. There's lots of different categories of foods, but there are two that impact our blood sugar levels. It's starches, so that's bread, rice.
This woman makes how much money? And this is your outfit? I'm sorry.
Rice, pasta, potatoes, oats, and sugars. So anything sweet, from an apple pie to an orange juice. These two categories of foods
are dangerous.
They're literally made up of glucose molecules. So when you eat them, they break down into individual glucose molecules, and the glucose molecules arrive into your blood. If you eat a lot of starches and sugars at once, a lot of glucose molecules are arriving into your blood. And that's what you see. That's the spike you see on your glucose monitor. Now, these spikes have a few different consequences. You know, having a few spikes here and there is not a big...
Juice and wet, high water content fruit for hundreds of days until you're as skinny as an Ethiopian, you fat...
That's racist.
Thanks.
So, the biggest reason why I wanted to have you on today is because...
I don't actually know who this is right here. But this is Freelee. So let's see how this goes.
We're going to have a very cool conversation about sugar. If you guys follow Freelee, she's been talking a lot about like white table sugar and the benefits of that. And I'm not super well versed in all of that. So I wanted to have Freelee on to talk about it and have her kind of get into the science of it all. So I guess, the most natural place I think to start, and you could choose if you want to take this talking point or go somewhere else, but first of all, like fruit sugar is not bad. And so then naturally, I guess table sugar is not bad. So why is then white table sugar also not bad? And how is it? Yeah.
What people need to understand is every cell in the human body runs on sugar. Okay, it runs on glucose. And humans are sugar miners. We are really, really after the sucrose in food. So sucrose is high in fruits. Okay, it's not high in grains and stuff like that. That's glucose based. So sucrose is equivalent to white sugar. It's the same chemical molecule that you find in fruit. It's the same as what you find in, the bag of white sugar.
The video and you'll see what happened and why that occurred. It was her fault entirely. It was absolutely deserved in it.
This looks, this is satanic looking, but that's just me. That's different topic. I don't even want to highlight or use the interview, if you can call it that, between these two, because it really was a train wreck. He was just blabbering on. She was just laughing. Anybody who was on the fence watching that, like wondering, which side do I want to be on? I don't know what you got out of that whole thing. That thing was a waste of time on everybody's end. It was like 2 hours 15. I only made it like 45 minutes.
Indicated, and since she hasn't seen fit or had the self-awareness to take her channel down and withdraw entirely from public life because of the fact of her monumental incompetence that she displayed yesterday, let's deal with her latest offering, which, forewarning, her video is over an hour long, an hour and 3 minutes. So mine will be longer than that because I'll have to take some time to respond to her nonsense. So get comfortable or don't, whatever. Right, Vicky, tell us about it. Clearly she doesn't have much to say.
This reminds me of my ex-wife's father, who used to say women are meant to be looked at, not heard from.
Where is my fatty liver?
Well, with a diet that you told us that you are consuming, which consists of 80% sugar, half of which is fructose, and only 5% fat and 5% protein, completely insufficient, by the way, love. The fatty liver will be incoming at some point. Yeah.
Confusing that it's called fatty liver if it's coming from sugar. No one really seems to be able to quite explain that. He has kind of... No, he hasn't. Nobody really explains that. Nobody can explain why it's called a fatty liver, but it's somehow glucose.
Yes.
Or fructose. Or sucrose.
Also, standing there and showing that there's not a lot of obvious adiposity externally says nothing about visceral adiposity.
If it was internal, you'd see it. I mean, she does have a flat
Or
stomach.
fatty liver.
He's reaching here.
Nothing whatsoever. You stupid girl. You ridiculous charlatan. What is next?
This is all she did in that interview. I'm like, what in the hell are you doing?
That was your response to everything yesterday, wasn't
it? Seriously was. But he was no better. He just kept on. I don't want to get into it.
Okay. Hey, everybody. These lives are really a lot easier for me to do than just making...
So, yet again, she's going to come online and be stuffing her face constantly with sugar-based nonsense. Dates, in this case, it looks like. What does that tell you? That she can't do a video without stuffing her face. It's almost as if she's not getting the nutrition she needs.
And then once you've lost all the body fat, get rid of all that toxic shit that's in your body fat. Not like these idiot zero-carb carnivores that are in Stall Center! Not healing shit! You're not healing shit! If you're not losing weight, you fat pigs!
The record straight.
This guy, I gotta be honest. This portion of the video, I myself have a very hard time watching. I don't like this guy at all. If he sees this video, that's just where I'm at. I don't trust him. I don't know why.
Once and for all with this carnivore versus plant.
I don't know. Reptile meter goes off. Look at the,
base thing. Both sides think they're right and the other side is wrong. Meat eaters will say we are designed to eat meat, and the plant eaters say we're designed to eat plants.
In this whole video of his, all he does is use AI bullshit art. I cannot stand that shit. If you're going to use art, actually pay an artist to do it.
Let's keep morality, ethics, environmental impact, and sentimental emotions out of it for a minute and just look at it from a strictly biological point of view. Let me answer the most common question right away. Why do so many people get better when they go carnivore? They get better because they stop eating pizza, bagels, pancakes, cereal, bread, pasta, cookies, cakes, sugar, soft drinks, ice cream, and waffles. Replace modern...
I think you'll find history has eaten these said items for a very long time now. And it hasn't been an issue.
Processed food with...
Had to block the sound off this one because it would have gotten me copyrighted. But I did like the picture.
Actually, V-Spot Pizza, this is the supreme.
As we see, he's eating carbs. Processed. Oh no, watch out. Can't have that.
Pretty good. I got
Even the sound on it might actually have copyright issues. If it does, I will have to take sound off this altogether.
Thin pan. Vegan pizza, right? Another one over here.
Anything found in nature, and you get similar results. You get the same results and you heal just about anything if you eat just fruits and vegetables and greens and nuts and seeds. As long as it's found in nature. Pasta, ice cream, bagels, and beer are not found in nature. One of the most important things to realize here is what most people call vegan is not healthy. Some of the unhealthy...
I can't... I'm sorry. I just... Like... The Bible, like the most mentioned foods in the Bible is bread, meat, and fruit. Sorry, bud. Like, you don't really have leg to stand on with the whole bread thing. Sorry.
Healthiest people in
this AI bullshit
in the world are vegan.
Pizza time. Everyone loves pizza. Look at this, grease-free. Look at that, lean. Be bounced around because look at white Domino's. Domino's Australia, they're vegan pizzas. Spice against trio, no cheese. Veggiarama, no cheese. Thin pan, gluten-free, classic, deep pan, all vegan bases.
Because all they eat is dead, highly processed junk. Bread, pizza, pasta, fake cheese, fake meat, fried food, cooked to death food, wheat, sugar, preservatives, processed oil.
I don't even know how I put this on here. And
oil, cereal.
Of all people, I've never...
Real jam, syrup, and all that. Just keep going. None of it is natural, and none of it is healthy. They eat junk food. They're junk food vegans. They have health issues. Very few vegans are raw vegan, but raw vegans aren't off the hook either.
They gotta have too much fruit.
Most of them are basically fruitarians because fruit is sweet and it tastes good, and all they eat and drink is sweet stuff. Mangoes and bananas and watermelon and grapes and sweet fruity smoothies and tons of orange juice. Sugar, 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 sugar. This is also not natural.
You want to lose all the weight, you fat pig? You want to get ripped? You want to get shredded? Stall-free zone. Dad bod free zone. Sugar.
Plopped in nature and you were forced to survive, you would not find a lot of sweet stuff. Most of what...
That is absolute bullshit. Has he not seen Thailand, Philippines, most of the Asian areas? The shit is just... It disgusts me, matter of fact, to watch some of these channels in like Thailand and stuff like that, because the fruit, there's so much of it is just falling off into the street and nobody even cares. What the hell is he talking about?
You'd find out there would be bland or even bitter and
just like original fruits like cherimoyas and fucking durian and stuff. Are you kidding me here, buddy? Like, yeah, no, this guy.
Bitter is actually good for you.
It's not, though, because most bitter is actually toxic for you, but tell people.
It stimulates digestion and it helps clean the liver. Sweet stuff feeds back.
Now, admittedly, during Passover, if you read the Bible, you're supposed to have bitters with your burnt offering. That's the only time it's mentioned.
Bacteria, fungus, yeast, mold, and parasites, and fruit is half glucose, half fructose. Those are sugars. The body cannot use fructose, so the liver has to work overtime to convert it to glucose so the body can use it. Do not misquote me here. I am not saying to not eat fruit. There's nothing wrong with eating fruit, but you can't live your whole life eating nothing but sweet fruit.
I mean, I know people who do, so what are you talking about?
Even monkeys know to eat.
I've interviewed them on my channel. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Half green and half fruit. Plus,
we do not have the digestive capabilities of any of said animals that you just mentioned.
Occasionally some bugs and some other unmentionable gross stuff.
Cardio, long...
I couldn't take it anymore.
Endurance work for an hour or more at a time, whatever, at a moderate intensity. Mm-hmm. Those muscle fibers that you trained yesterday to become massive by doing that 8-rep maximum set, you're now training them to get smaller again. It's antagonistic. So don't do it. Secondly, if you do hours and hours and hours of cardio for years and years and years, that will predispose your cardiac tissue,
I thought that was somebody screaming.
Heart to become hypertrophy. The actual heart muscle gets bigger, and it gets so big that it starts interfering with its own function, and you start ending up with a higher likelihood, it seems, of cardiovascular problems.
So from that vantage point, you would say that essentially cardio is going to inhibit or hinder muscle growth. That's correct?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. That's it. That's my video. I could have made a 18 million hour video, I'm sure. But I'm going to leave you with this, and I can't read it because do not join with the wine bibbers, nor with the gluttonous eaters of meat. For drunkards and gluttons come to poverty, and grogginess will clothe one in rags. I can't be on anybody's bandwagon anymore. I really can't. I should have pulled up a picture of myself when I wasn't on anybody's bandwagon. I used to love eating meat. I didn't do vegan because of ethics at all. It had nothing to do with it whatsoever. Every time I ate meat, I smelled like ammonia. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm not saying that I'm going to start eating it again, but as far as living on just one macro, one of the people in here that was in this video that I've talked to went on vacation and literally only ate gummies the entire vacation because they didn't want to have a microgram of fat. Who the hell wants to live like that? I'm sorry. It's just not a way of living. There's just not. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed my video. I think I should run one of these without me talking and just to kind of see the contradictions without me talking. So if you want me to do that, let me know, and I will run 2 different versions of this and publish both of them. That is my video, and if you are trying to diet and this is all that you find, you are not the only one. Nobody seems to have a clue what anyone is doing. Why is there? And it's pretty evident. A lot of them seem to be paid off shills. The other ones, are just as close as the paid off ones. If you're a Bible reader like me, like I said, bread, meat, and fruit. Those are the three most commonly mentioned things in the Bible. There is bitters mentioned in there, like I said, one time that I can think of during Passover. And during Passover, you're not allowed to eat any leavener. So if that is something of interest to you, then go for it. If I was reading the book of Samuel and King David, who would award people, he would award them with bread, cakes, basically just made out of figs, and cakes just made out of raisins. That was awards to people. So, and then on occasion during a celebration, they would eat fattened calves or cows or whatever. It was not like, oh, go get the skinny cow, they weren't worried about any of that stuff. And if you read some of the genealogies from the early Bible days, especially, some of them people lived hundreds of years. So I think our environment has a lot more to do with everything that goes on with us. And also you got to look at the artificial preservatives. You've got to look at the artificial flavorings. You got to look at the natural flavorings. You got to look at these seed oils. You got to look at what's coming out of the sky. You got to look at what's in the water. You got to look at a whole host of things that, like Neil Barnard was trying to point out in the early 50s Japan, they wouldn't have had any of that at all. That's my video. Comments, questions, like always, down below, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.